Blog Talk Radio.
President recognizes Mr. Adams of Massachusetts.
Objects of the most stupendous magnitude. Measures which will affect the lives of millions, born and unborn, are now before us. We must expect a great expense of blood to obtain them. But we must always remember that a free constitution of civil government cannot be purchased at too dear a rate, as there is nothing on this side of Jerusalem of greater importance to mankind. My worthy colleague from Pennsylvania has spoken with great ingenuity and eloquence. He has given you a grim prognostication of our national future, but where he foresees apocalypse, I see hope. I see a new nation ready to take its place in the world. Not an empire, but a republic. And a republic of laws, not men. Gentlemen, we are in the very midst of revolution. The most complete, unexpected, and remarkable of any in the history of the world.
Let me make this an absolute fact. The goal is world peace. That must be our prime responsibility. We are the leader of the free world whether we want to be or not, and therefore we are the only ones that can preserve the peace. And to do that, we must have strength. Meeting this mission is responsibility for preserving the peace, which I believe is a responsibility peculiar to our country, that we cannot shirk our responsibility as a leader of the free world because we're the only one that can do it.
What if the American people woke up and understood that the official reasons for going to war are almost always based on lies and promoted by war propaganda in order to serve special interests? What if we as a nation came to realize that the quest for empire eventually destroys all great nations? What if the American people learned the truth?
The FBI has foiled about 17 plots to kill Americans during the past 10 years. What it will not tell you is that there have been 20 foiled plots, and of them, 3 were interrupted by members of the public. The 17 that were interrupted by the feds were created by the feds. Why do we pay the government to trick us into believing it is keeping us safe? What if a government that manipulated us could be fired? What if a government that lacked the true and knowing consent of the governed could be dismissed? What if it were possible to have a real game changer? What if we need a Ron Paul to preserve and protect our freedoms from the government? What if we can make elections matter again? What if you could love your country but hate what the government has done to it? What if sometimes to love your country you had to alter or abolish the government? What if Jefferson was right? What if that government is best which governs least? What if I'm right? What if the government is wrong? What if it is dangerous to be right when the government is wrong? What if it is better to perish fighting for freedom than to live as a slave? What if freedom's greatest hour of danger is now?
It's critical that every citizen of this country rise up and do something, because the day of reckoning is at hand and time is running out.
Unless we do something, we're going to get the government that we deserve.
How did you let this happen? Wake up out there. You know, it's your children. Don't you care? Look what these people are doing to you.
There are 200 million adults in this country. why we are letting them get away with what they are, why we're not marching in the streets.
Do everything in your power to restore freedom and your individuality back to America. Stop being a country run by the institutions for the institutions. Let's go back to we the people, by the people, for the people.
We have to stop being scared. We have to stand up and do what's necessary to take back, to stop these bankers, these elite, this government full of lies, congressmen full of liars.
And the Federal Reserve, and the fractional banking system, and the Fed. Elect Ron Paul, and the war.
People should not be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of their people.
Don't give yourselves to brutes, men who despise you, enslave you, who regiment your lives, tell you what to do, what to think, and what to feel, who drill you, diet you, treat you like cattle, use you as cannon fodder. Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men, machine men with machine minds and machine hearts. You, the people, have the power. You, the people, have the power to make this life free and beautiful. Let us fight to free the world, to do away with greed, with hate and intolerance.
Let me make this an absolute fact. The goal is world peace. That must be our prime responsibility. We are the leader of the free world whether we want to be or not. And therefore we are the only ones that can preserve the peace. And to do that we must have strength. Meeting this mission is responsibility for preserving the peace, which I believe is a responsibility peculiar to our country, that we cannot shirk our responsibility as a leader of the free world because we're the only one that can do it.
All right, we are the only ones that can do it. Understanding the times in which we live today, blogtalkradio.com. Here we are, Joseph Gibson, and of course I've got some co-hosts here tonight. Actually, I've got one. He's already connected. Actually, he's already been connected. I do. In case you missed last night's podcast, of course we do have two other individuals that will be doing a show themselves one day a week. Of course, kind of like when I had Mandela Khan do his own show. And matter of fact, Mandela Khan did want to speak here tonight. And I promised to give him the platform here for a little bit. And I explained to him that, where the show is moving at a different pace now. What we're finding is that the people out there want the message. However, they want the message and they want it brought to them within a couple minutes, and then they want interaction and then a couple minutes for response, because yelling and screaming at each other is not worked, obviously, correct? We can all agree on that, I would be sure. Throughout the years, what we've done on Blog Talk Radio, yes, what we've done is we've argued and fought with each other. We cannot do that because right now we are in a time of distress and we are in a time of emergency, and that's what Mandela Khan, I think, is going to talk about, and he's going to bring his message here. Now, the people around the world today apparently are in a distress call because they believe that their freedoms are being conquered and sequestered into their homes, and they don't really fully understand what's really happening. However, here in America, we have a different idea and plan. We're here to restore the republic. And those of you who do not follow my Facebook page, you need to. There'll be another show tonight, actually, with Gene and some other individuals. It's called, I forget the name of it, actually. Oh, boy, I'm going to get yelled at for that one. They're going to be on right after my show. You're going to have to go to my page. It's Blue Sky, I think it's called. It's on YouTube, actually. And they're going to discuss, they're going to reveal to you, they've been given the privilege to reveal to you, actually, and they're going to give you references and things that have happened and things that are going to happen, exactly what's happening to our country right now. Now, they're going to reveal a lot of information to you from what I gather and tell you exactly what's happening, because we have a lot of naysayers out there. We have people, that's not happening. No, this ain't happening. No. Well, tell me something, folks. I want, 6 months ago, if I would have told you everybody in the entire world is going to be told to stay in their homes, and they're going to say, by who? By your government. By your government. Even though, we're not under technical house arrest right now, we can still come and go as we please. But if I was to tell you 6 months ago or a year ago that, let's just say 6 months, that the stock market was going to crash, okay, and your government was going to tell you to stay in your house, okay, and you were all going to be given a check for $3,000, $2,000, $5,000. You're going to give every adult was going to be given $1,200 a check, okay, right at Easter time, Easter. Right, that I would just say if I would have told you that 6 months ago, and then I would have told you that there were individuals out there that there were indictments out there, and people were going to start being arrested, and places were going to start being raided and confiscated, and people were going to start being taken into custody. And if I just told you that right there, just that, there's much more I can tell you. Trust me, I can, but I'm not going to, because we have naysayers out there. There's no point. Okay, there's no point in doing it because you're not going to believe me anyway, because that's my point. Would you have believed me? No, you would not have. You would have said, this guy's a kook job, just like when I was talking about the Federal Reserve years ago, when I had the Prime Minister of Canada on my show, and we were talking about the other things that were happening globally, and I was called a liar, and that's not true, and then come to find out, it happened. You remember about 6 years ago? Yep. And then when I had the Navy vet on when he lost his children, I remember we got his kids back for him. Remember that one? Okay, remember that he was not going to get his children back. And what did we do? We attacked, we fought, and we pulled some strings, and we got all of his children back. And remember that Christmas show when his little girl got on his telephone and thanked me? Remember that? But, I'm an idiot. I'm paranoid. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm a conspiracy theorist. I'm an idiot. I'm a jerk. I'm a loser. I don't live in a big mansion, and I don't run Channel 61 or Fox 8 News. So, therefore, I'm not one to be believed, right? So that's why I'm not going to tell you what's going to happen. Be a buffoon. Get yourself caught out, trapped someplace in the city. Just take your chances and be a complete jackass and just live your life. Like, keep doing what you're doing. That's all. And that's all I can tell you. I mean, or you can have a little bit of faith and you can start, and stop trying to disprove everything, and that goes for everybody out there, and start just taking a little bit and be a part of the, I guess you could say, the solution, not a part of the problem. Start, having a little bit of faith, doing the right thing, and, looking at some things, but not trying to tear things apart and letting things go. Some things you got to let go over your head sometimes, just let them pass on by, and, and not when one tiny little factoid doesn't come true right away. You're a liar! See, I gotcha! Come on. Knock it off. All right? What you got to do is just take things slowly and just let things happen. I really do firmly believe that there's a lot of good out there that can overcome the darkness and the evil if we would just work together and put all our silly little differences aside. And I think that show that we want to do with the youth, Chad, I think that show we want to do with the youth is a very good start at, while this is all going on, and to help make sure that this doesn't happen again in our country, that we don't get lost. We educate the youth. We could start something big here. We could do it right here. We could start it big. Just imagine this tiny little internet radio show that's said so much over the years that has come true. Look, we touched the youth. We interviewed all these, people that are very prominent people across the country, across the globe. Years, this tiny little blog talk show. Dairy farmers, military veterans. We got one right here. It's co-host, actually. Imagine that. We get all these people on here that are important aspects of our society on this tiny little radio show that doesn't mean anything. I would think it kind of does mean a little something. And we speak the truth, and we do it in a way that's very interesting. We're not the Donahue Show. We're not Sally, Jesse, or Raphael Gandel. Remember that one there in the 80s? That was a good one. Huh? There, when 10 o'clock in the morning, she used to always come on. I remember watching her when I was in sixth grade. And what was the new ones there that came? Montel Williams, Geraldo Rivera. Remember that? We're not those. But tonight, if you missed last night's show, we had Chad and Adam on as they hosted the Restore the Republic show. So, Chad, you want to say something real quick before I connect to our first guest here tonight, our first actual co-host, Miguel Khan? He wants something to say. He wants to speak about the status of everything out there. He has a lot to say, but you know that. So we're going to give him a chance here. And, Chad, you want to say something? No first?
Yeah. Okay. So tonight's show, we want to keep this platform clean. We want to have inviting and engaging discussion. We welcome people's opinions and input. But just remember that if you cross the line, you start getting vulgar or dirty, we will cut you off the air. So everybody just remember, keep it clean. We do have a younger audience that is starting to listen, and we want them to be able to come onto this platform and actually engage with everybody. And, in order to do that, we need people to keep it clean. So if you could do that, keep your conversations at a minimum.
Yeah, and Chad, just real quick, I have another monitor here, another call screen, my home call screen. I have 15 numbers on that call screen actually right now. So those are the supporters of this show. If you notice we'll talk about that in private. If you notice, I have a section with supporters. They listen in. So what they'll do is they'll come over to this section, this studio, if they want to call in. That's how it works. But I do have a supporter cast also here. So I want to just recognize those, the 15, 16 of them now. Thanks, guys, for listening. I appreciate you guys supporting. We got a new co-host, 2 co-hosts, actually. And then we got a third one tonight. Mandelicon, actually, wants to come on and have the floor for a while and kind of converse with the status of what's going on globally. So go ahead, Chad. I'm sorry. I just wanted to add in there to pay kudos to those guys that are supporting us.
Absolutely. Thank you. We want to thank all of you again for supporting the show, and look forward to many more shows with Joe Gibson, Adam, and our future network. So let's begin. We have Mandelicon on. If you want to,
press the number one. Press the number one, Mandelicon. I know his number. You don't actually. So let me. There he goes. Okay, there we go. I'll connect him. Go ahead there. Okay, Mandelicon, you get the floor for a little bit. Go ahead. You get a little bit of time here, like promised. Go ahead.
Very good. In understanding the times we live in today, going into April Fools, or the people must have it their way. And I'm a rapper, I'm a rhymer, and I know that the usual suspects, they don't like to hear my poetry or my art. But we have a plethora of people who's listening tonight, and we will have 570 come in as we go forward. Because now
they're not on my other screen. Yeah, they're not on my other screen, but when they come in, I'll make sure I get to them for you, okay?
That's okay. And understanding the times we live in today. This is a new ball game. And I know that you and the people in your sector, they like to talk about this country alone. But if you look outside this country, something unprecedented that never happened before is happening in all of our names and on all of our watch. And that's where I'm here to help everyone remember, or what they don't want to recognize, on behalf of the matriarch. And I'll get back there later. But understand the times we live in today. If I was a Shabaka, Black Power, if I was a Black Panther or a Ku Klux Klan, if I was a Crip, a Blood, a Blackstone Ranger, never in the history of the world, the whole wide world, has tyrannical governments said that people got to stay away from each other, and they are in lockdown. But guess what? It's checkmate, slam dunk, touchdown. NBA, the National Football League, or the World Series. And that's the people's government. And here's why this is so important. The temperature will get 70, 80, 90, 100 degrees in just a few days. Pressure busts a pipe. I'm telling the world, on behalf of the matriarch in Class Action 567, where we the people got every government surrounded, that either everybody's going to be free or there will be no freedom for nobody. And the reason being is because this is not about no cold, no flu, or no virus. This is about genocide, war crimes, and cruel, unusual punishment by state-sponsored terrorists, whether the government is in Maine to Florida, Washington State, California, UK, University of Kentucky, from the Congo to Tobago. Never in the history of the world the government is telling the people to stay away from each other, and that when the temperature gets 70, 80, 90, 100, who do you think is not going to go to the beaches, not going to go to the parks, not going to go to the springs, to the woods, to Mother Nature? What government on the planet will first and foremost integrate? We're integrated now. We're not separated. All of us are integrated under a social system of governments that's telling the people that has sovereignty, integrity, dignity, and independence of freedom that we're going to lock you down. Can you imagine and envision when the temperature rises 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 degrees, what government on the planet will restrict us from getting out of our seat, on our feet, and into the streets for freedom, justice, and total independence for everybody, or there will be no freedom, justice, and total independence for nobody? And here's where we are in the right place at the right time, in the right season, for the right reason. We cannot be subjugated to have our summer vacations in our bathroom, our kitchen, and our dining room. We want to go to the beach. We want to go to Great Adventure. We want to go to Las Vegas. We want to go to Carnival. We want to go to Mexico, Bolivia, Peru, Colombia. And how can it be not a cold, a virus, not this thing that we call a disease, because we intoxicated and we contaminated each other? How could it be that we can't get together and barbecue or pool parties and be in the parks with our barbecue, more than 10 people, yet the police and the Army and the National Guard with weaponry, the troops, they got a valid decision because they're going to have to prove in 70, 80, 90, 100 degree weather that we the people, by the people, for the people, of the people, black, brown, red, yellow, and white, old, young, gay, fit alike, that we are going to be restricted to our summer vacation, which is our bathroom with all your toilet paper. It's in your kitchen or your dining room. Hell no, we won't go. So for those who, on the Second Amendment, those who are the Black Panther Party, Huey Newton Gun Club, the Ku Klux Klan, or the Black Klux Klan, let's see if you can keep your honor, because for the first time in the history of the whole, not the United States of America, the whole government is telling the people that your summer vacation for the first time in the history of the world is going to be in your own humble abode. And what's happening to the homeless people, I'll tell you after the sun goes down. The homeless people are being swept up and taken off the streets of this country. They don't have a humble abode. And there's a multitude of homeless people when you look at California and Miami. And most people flock to California and Miami because they can pick some shit off the trees and they can be warm. But if we look at New York and every place else where the homeless people are all over this country, after the sun goes down, what do you think is happening to the homeless people in this country, black, brown, red, yellow, and white? They're being swept up, and there are 17,000 guillotines in the FEMA camps. And they're not going to let us have 3 cots in a house.
All right, Mandela Khan, can I interject here real quick here?
Yeah.
As far as it goes with the people here in the cities and everything, and what you're seeing from the People's Revolution, the matriarch there, I don't know if you had to invite anybody on here to speak. The Bloodless Revolution. How are they reacting? How are they reacting to this this government tyranny. I mean, what are they? Do they have any plans here? But how are they going to engage? Are they not going to engage? I mean, is there any plans here for the bloodless revolution?
They will engage because of the matriarch. Because you know this, after 7 years and 3 years, almost 4 years on Understand the Times in which we live, and even under Starkville City, we know this. They're going to engage because most of us, as we hoard up everything that we can get out of Walmart or the supermarket, whatever we try to get, it's only going to last 7 days. And then the temperature is going to be 70, 80, 90, 100 degrees. And then the militia, the Secular Rights Amendment, the W. Newton Gun Club, is versus the police, the county, municipally, and the Capitol Police, the state police, and the National Guard. We know that the National Guard is surrounding all of us, black, brown, red, yellow, and white. We know that 80%...
Medelicon, we haven't seen any evidence that the National Guard is actually surrounding anybody. Okay. So
I'll give you the evidence.
Okay. Well, we don't have time all night for the evidence. Just present us what you have.
Okay. I want you to look at videos all across this country from Maine to Florida, Washington State to California, and you will get a testimony on what we call this thing that they like to do. What's that thing where everybody got their phone up? It's World Star. Now, if you go look up at every other people's video, you'll see tanks and troops on trains. You'll see a whole bunch.
What you're seeing, is what we see every year about this time, and that is tanks and armored vehicles being transported by rail. They're getting ready to kick off a big, massive exercise all across Europe. So they're getting vehicles ready for that. And on top of the fact that you do have annual training season coming up for the National Guard of every state. So you're going to see a lot of equipment, and that also includes the Army Reserve as well. So you're going to see a lot of equipment and stuff moving, okay? That doesn't necessarily mean they're surrounding us. What that means is you're seeing equipment and troop movements. So, that is common. Okay, we're not seeing, we're hearing some stuff about the Rhode Island governor using the National Guard to enforce quarantines and stuff and to round up New York citizens, but we haven't really seen much in the way of, any of that other than what the news reported. Yeah. Okay,
Chad, let me tell you what we haven't seen ever in the history of the whole planet, black, brown, red, yellow, white, old, young, gay, straight, light. You have never been told by your own government in your sector, county, city, state, and international municipality, that your summer vacation is going to be in your humble abode. So we've never been here before, Chad and Joe. We've never been here where the government under which we pledge our allegiance told us and is telling all of us, lock down. We've never been here before. This is a new precedent for us. So whatever you say that the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine, police, the judges of the court, and the aides to the dependent children and the child protective services, do you say that they're here to protect us? I'm telling you that we have never been here naked in the canoe.
I stood up, I raised my right hand to, defend this nation against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and that includes a domestic government that might be tyrannical, and that I swore an allegiance that I would defend the citizens of the United States of America. And
here's what that's a good thing. Okay. Here's a good thing. Let me stop you right there. Joe Gibson heard me tell about 7 years ago about arresting the tyrants, arresting the government, arresting the government. Okay? So, the bloodless revolution, you, as a sworn oath, whether you're a cop or Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, you never knew that your own Constitution is in violation because as you sworn to serve and protect, you were talking about only
how is our Constitution a violation? Okay, I don't understand how the Constitution. It
Here's
is not
why
a
it's a
violation.
violation.
The Constitution.
Here's why it's
the
a violation,
Constitution is
Chad.
based on natural law.
Hang on. No arguing.
Right.
Hang on.
Okay, Chad, let me tell you why.
Let him ask a question.
Oh, he can't ask the question because he's defeated. Now, I'm going to tell you why. Because there's not a black or white, old, young, gay, Spirit-like, ex-military, ex-police, ex-Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines that honored the Constitution of the Creator's sovereignty and integrity and dignity of the nations outside of the United States of America. Y'all under jingoism. You don't honor no Constitution, sovereignty and integrity and dignity and independence of the other nations because you use your military to violate the sovereignty and integrity, dignity, and independence to where every black and white person knows they will not tolerate a foreign government bombing their people. In America, the Eagle is the only nation that violates the constitutions of the Creator.
Yeah, but we're seeing other countries around the world right now do the same thing that America is doing. So so therefore, what's going on with that?
True. That is not true.
Italy, they're on total lockdown in Italy. The country of Italy, they're keeping everybody. They're arresting people if they come out of their home.
Actually, yeah, it is.
That is true.
It is.
Yeah, that is true.
Listen, I'm not going to let you gang members bang up me, so don't try to double team me now.
No, but that's
like
true,
that
Mandelicon. All I'm saying is that
no,
tyranny too.
No, listen. Everybody, black, brown, red, young, white, old, young, gay, straight, white. The Eagle. The Eagle represents liberty, freedom, justice, and total independence for everybody. Under Uncle Scam, the Confederate flag, the red, white, and blue, the Eagle is the enemy of all life on the planet. The Eagle.
Okay, all right, the Eagle, but I'm just saying, but what about the other governments, though? They're doing the same thing that the United States is doing. Isn't that wrong, don't you think?
Hey, Joe, don't do that. Don't do that. I'm telling you.
Well, I know. Look, you're telling me that they're not. You're telling me right now that they're not locking down people in their homes.
I'm telling you, the only nation that's the Lord of the air, master of the sea, with the Big Bang Theory of the atomic bomb, to the victor goes the spoil, only the Eagle violates every other nation's constitution because I got the power of life and death. I'm the King Kong of the world. Not Russia, not China, not Iran,
all right,
not Syria.
Okay,
right,
Mandelicon, hang on.
Yeah.
Mandelicon, hang on. I mean, come on. We're not going to get into a yelling match and spewing out false narratives now.
You're right. Let me calm my ass down. Let me put some duct tape on myself and let me silence myself.
No, I just want to hear the truth. I just want to hear the truth. Come on, Mandelicon. I just want to hear the truth. Yeah.
Don't you have a plethora of new callers on the line that ain't pushed one? And wherever
I don't know.
570,
Give me some numbers.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll
give me some
give you nothing.
If anybody wants to
I'll give you nothing. You and Chad know both. You and Chad both know.
Stop talking over over each other. We cannot run the show that way.
And I both know. And you and I both know we got some new callers that haven't pushed one, never talked on your program, and that's because I did I did the commercial, and you told me 7:30, but then later you told me 7. And now the new callers that never push one, Chad and Joe, that's because of the pain.
Well, push one.
Matriarch.
Okay. Well, they can push one now. They can push one now if they want to talk about the United States being responsible for this entire thing, and that the other countries are not quarantining people. That
they don't have to
only
talk.
the United States is doing this.
Everybody's on lockdown, Joe. And Chad,
everybody, yes, that's what I said. That's what I said.
Lockdown, and all governments must be arrested. Every government on the goddamn planet.
How do you suppose we go about arresting all governments? What is the solution that you have? What is
Thank you, Chad, and I appreciate that question. And ordinarily, Joe knows, and so does Tyrone, that I don't like to be vetted, questioned, or interrogated. But Chad, because you're here as a co-host.
No, but we can have a conversation, though. We can have a conversation.
Right.
You know,
because
we don't have to vet everybody. No.
Right. But see, I already have my sights as a general of the matriarch, and the solution is this, Chad. No one has to fight to kill each other. Everyone must stand down. Everyone. Crips, Blood, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, police, whoever you are, stand the fuck down now.
Okay, all right, watch your language, please.
Medelicon, come on. You tone it down. Okay, so Medelicon.
Okay.
So in 1776, okay, did we tell our militia members and our Continental Army and General George Washington to stand down? Okay. Did we tell them that? No.
Okay, Chad. I'll tell you, though you didn't, but here's the reason why. Because the majority of people, we the people, by the people, for the people, of the people, when y'all wrote them documents of the founding Bill of Rights, Declaration of Independence, and the Constitution, even white women was not at the table, let alone an African or indigenous man or woman or elder. So it was not legal tender because you couldn't stand down. Because when you came into this horn of plenty, you was happy as a lark. You wanted to create a society that give you the freedom and justice and total independence from England, France, Germany, and Italy.
All right, we don't have to yell. We don't have to yell here. We don't have to yell. We can hear you fine. We don't have to yell.
Okay. They let criminals out of Europe, and y'all stumbled on a horn of plenty. And you saw that the people didn't have no Big Bang Theory, no caterpillars that blew smoke, or no fire breathing stick. And when you realize that these men just don't have no guns, all you had to do was take control and create magic, thunder and lightning, to prove that you the gods of the world. And that was a beautiful thing. It was a beautiful thing. But what I'm telling you right now, don't make me the boogeyman or the bad guy, because Uncle Scam, I'm the
nobody's
white, and
making you
blue.
the boogeyman or the bad
We're
guy.
not making you the boogeyman. We're not making you the boogeyman. But I think Florida had a question for me tonight. Florida, I see your number. You just popped up from the supporter page. Do you want to press the number 1, Florida? We got Medelicon on here, and I don't know where we're going with this conversation. He wanted to talk about the global pandemic and this virus thing that's got everyone on lockdown.
Joe. Don't try to. Don't do that,
no,
Joe.
But
please.
hang on.
Don't do
talking
that, Joe.
about it, and what we're trying to do is figure out a solution.
You're talking about this country, Joe. I'm talking about the people on the planet. We're talking about two different things.
But you denied it. But you denied it. You said the people around the planet were not on lockdown. That only the United States was doing it. That's what you said.
I did not say
no,
that.
That's not true.
Joe, don't do that, please, Joe.
But
hey, Chad.
Medelicon, come on. Just call it. Florida, you got a question, jump on here and, ask away.
Yeah, unmute him. I think I got to do it maybe. Let's see. Go ahead. I might have to. I think you got control of the chat room. All right, go ahead. Go ahead, Florida. Go ahead. What's on your mind tonight? You got Medelicon and Chad on here.
I really don't know if I really have a question, but I was trying to, I don't know what you guys were talking about, so I cannot just jump in here. I just dialed it in. Joe, I have heard about you having a show earlier, but I've seen where you had said that you had a show, and I didn't know what time it was, so I just called in. So I do not know what the topic is, and so it's hard for me to just, do I have a question? No. Do I have a statement?
You talk about whatever you want tonight. We don't really have a topic, really. We were combating the Republic. We were talking about, basically this flu virus and how people are reacting to it. What can we do to, combat this situation? Because some people feel like their liberties are being taken away. Medelicon made a statement that the National Guard is surrounding people's houses and kidnapping them and stuff like that.
Joe, hey, I was just talking to a friend of ours just a little bit ago, right before I called this number, and he did want me to call him when it was on the air, and I So do you mind if I just call back in like?
Yeah, call him. Go ahead, call him.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Bring him onto the podcast. Sure. Go ahead.
Cool?
I said, go ahead. I just said it three times. Go ahead. God almighty, maybe we need an editor on this show. My Lord, we got to say things 8 times for people to figure it out. You know, what's everybody half in the bag here tonight? I mean, come on. You know, this is our republic. You know, I mean, maybe we need to be in our houses. Don't go out and drive, that's for sure.
Yeah.
You know, what's going on here? My Lord, I don't think they'll make it to the next show at 9 o'clock. The other show that's going to be on. My goodness.
Hey, Joe.
Yeah.
Hey, Joe, if I may, on behalf of the People's Bloodless Revolution, we need to get out of our seat, on our feet, and into the streets to arrest the tyrants in the local, county, city, state, and
but how do we do that? How do we do that?
Okay, hold on.
How do we do that?
Because you said we just should be in a blockade. We should be in sanctuary. Freedom and justice.
Acting like this.
Is freedom
Acting
and
like
justice.
this.
And if we don't have freedom and justice, Joe and Chad, now you have selective amnesia because the whole planet Earth, not just American people, the whole planet Earth is under lockdown. And now for the first time in the history of the planet, we're in the valley of decision, and we got to be right because we have to bring in sharing, caring, healing, and building. Sharing, caring, healing, and building. Love is the key. It's not war. All wars must be suspended. Everyone must stand down because 70, 80, 90, 100-degree weather is coming up, and pressure busts a pipe. Pressure busts a pipe amongst the 80% of workers and poor peasants who don't make $20 an hour.
Okay, Mandela Khan.
All right, Mandela Khan. All right, Mandela Khan. How do you suggest that, Mandela Khan? Okay, how do you suggest this loving and caring planet that you want?
I'm suggesting that as the temperature rises, so does the pressure. And Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, if you take a sworn oath against the patriots of the United States of America, and the patriots are not all black, and they are not all men.
Bill, are you there? Nobody can hear but Bill.
Okay.
Bill.
Mandela Khan. Okay.
Bill, say.
Look. From the beginning of time, there have been...
Oh, hang on, Chad. Hang on, Chad. 386 is back on here. Go ahead, 386.
Okay.
Nothing. I was just listening in. I was just trying to figure out what you guys.
All right. Okay, you do that. All right. Go ahead. Yeah, that's fine. I'll mute you back. Go ahead. I thought you had your friend on the line there that wanted to ask me a question. That's fine. Go ahead, Chad. Make your point. I'm sorry.
Okay, yeah, that's no problem, Joe. Okay, so from the beginning of time, and even the Bible it states, since the beginning of time, there have been wars and rumors of wars. Okay, we as mankind, as long as man walks the earth, there will be war. Okay, there's always going to be conflict because none of us will ever be able to put aside any difference, whatever it may be, whether it be religious or economic. So we need to stop trying to figure out how we can. Yes. So we need to stop trying to figure out how we can stop war. We'll never stop war. Okay. War makes money. Okay. If you don't realize that, war makes money.
Okay, Chad.
Yeah.
The eagle has never won a war based on the signs of times we live in today. That's why we
what kind of question is that?
No, ain't no question. And I'm just bringing you up to speed. Everybody that wants to engage without love, no matter what your concept is, you're wrong. Whether you're black, brown, red, yellow, white. Kill or be killed.
But Mandela Khan, everybody's wrong, but you're not offering us a solution. Do you have a solution to the problem?
This is not the program for solutions. This is the program for dissecting the silent times we live in today. And every government is here to create genocide on the people. And everybody that take an oath this day forward.
Well, we know that. We know that.
It's not to serve, protect, and defend the people. No, you don't know it because you can't accept an African general of the matriarch to dictate policy.
Okay, Medelicon, I'm not going to sit here and argue with you on this, okay? Look.
You don't have to, Chad. Thank you.
We have
Thank you, Chad.
an agreement that, okay, things are truly screwed up in this world. It doesn't matter what revolution or what matriarch, okay? We all have our own problems. Every
it does,
nation
Chad.
has
It
its own
does
problems.
matter. That's why you're hearing me, Chad. It does matter.
I mean, Medelicon, it doesn't matter at this point in life. Okay, at this point in our current climate in the world, okay, we know that what is happening now has been happening for hundreds of years.
Okay,
and
that's selective amnesia. Me and my people have been here 11 million years, Chad.
All right, hang on.
We got another caller in.
Yeah, that's back to 386. Everyone needs to press the number 1 if they want to get on here. You got to remind everybody of that like every 10 minutes or so. If you want to get on here, press number 1, and we'll put you on here live on the show, okay? So 386, go ahead, you're next, and we will get to you. And I see another caller, 2092. 386, go ahead. What do you want to say?
Okay, can you hear me?
Please stay silent, please, for a minute. Go ahead. Go ahead.
You hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. Hey, what I want to say, it has affected my life. This virus has. Whether it's true or not, I do not know. Do I want to take a chance on it? No, I don't. Have I met anybody that has it? No, I have not. I pray to God that I don't. I pray to God nobody else ever gets it again. But my question to you, Joe, is right here, right now. What if you got it right now? You just found out, say, 15 minutes ago, you have that virus. Hypothetically speaking, I pray you never get it. I don't wish that on nobody, but hypothetically.
Yeah. Ask the question. Okay. Well, if I found out if I had the virus, what I would do is I would do the responsible thing. I would quarantine myself in my room someplace and seal myself off from the rest of the general public, because that's what the information we're supposedly getting, that if that's what we're supposed to do. So I would do the responsible thing because I don't know any better or any otherwise. So I would quarantine myself until I got better.
Yeah, thank you for that. That is, I mean, you said what probably most intelligent adults would.
Yeah.
I do not think that you would try to just infect everybody you could. And
why would I infect other people? Who would, in their right mind, want to do something like that? Who would want to just purposely infect other people? For even thinking something like that is a sick notion.
Can I say something? Let's refer to the AIDS virus, right? Okay. I'm sure that's probably whatever, but the AIDS virus, there is guys that have gotten it, or whatever, and they would just inflict it on other people.
Okay, good point. Yes, there were 6 people out there that would purposely infect other people.
That's fraud on the line. If there's fraud on the line.
Hang on, Medelicon, hang on.
Yeah, come on.
You can ask him a question, but hang on.
My point is right here, right now. If you knew you had it, what my point is, why we have a way to know right now. Every family. I don't understand why there's $2 trillion. I don't care about no $1,300 that's coming to anybody. Why in the world don't we have? Hey, dude, I go to a doctor every month because I'm on something. It's boxing. That's what I'm on.
All right. So what's your point? What are you trying to say here?
I'm told they don't have a problem drug testing me. Why do they have a problem testing for this? Why should there not be a test everywhere right now?
Oh, so you're saying mandatory testing. Okay, all right. So you're saying mandatory testing. Okay.
Why can't they to the home
would know. Hey, we would know if you
All
bought
right, I got your point, Florida. I got your point. What you're trying to say? You're saying that there should be mandatory testing.
Hey,
That's what you're
we
saying.
got background noise here.
Mandatory.
Okay.
I'm not.
Yeah, hang on. Let me mute him, Chad. Let me mute him. Hang on, Florida. We will answer that question. Let's go to 209. Go ahead, 209. Go ahead. Let's move it along, Florida. We'll answer that question. Why shouldn't we have mandatory testing? Go ahead, 209.
We should always have mandatory testing. I say this because it's spreading rapidly. It doesn't matter what race you are, what gender you are, anybody can get it. So in order to keep everybody safe, I think it should be mandatory testing. I think that them saying that it's not enough testing is really a downfall because at this point in time, everybody needs to know so we can make precaution and keep everybody safe who isn't sick. And there is people who have been caught intentionally spreading the virus, knowing that they have been going in stores coughing over things or touching things or not even washing their hands when they come out of restrooms, which should be a mandatory PPE anyway. Precaution for anything. Nobody should want nobody to get sick because the thing is, when it's all said and done, it's going to affect the whole world. So for everybody to have one closed mind and say, well, it's going to affect this, it's going to affect everybody. It's mandatory.
Well, how do we know that, though? But how do we know that, though? How do we know that?
What city are you in? And what's your name? What city
Right
is
now,
she in, and what's her name?
My name is Dontil. I'm in Merced. I've been on here plenty of times, just different numbers, because I've changed my phone. But we had no cases out here. We had one, which was a police officer who traveled outside of here. Now, it started from Fresno. I'm talking about the Valley, because the Bay Area had already shut down because I worked at the hospitals in Stanford and I worked at UCSF in San Francisco. They have shut down mandatory. You can't cross the bridge. You can't come out unless you're a worker and so on and so forth. It is spreading like wildfire. Why I say that they should have testing because not only are the nurses and the surgical techs putting their life on the line because surgery and everything must go on. So this should be mandatory that they have enough tests for every human being to be tested for it so we can all take proper precaution.
Okay, so you're saying that you're a witness to massive amounts of cases of this virus. That's what you're saying. You've seen for a fact that it's this virus.
Yes, sir. It started off as one case. Now we have 9 cases. Now it's gotten so bad to where they put it in the newspaper of the city and the county that we will not report anymore. Why? Because they know that it's spreading like wildfire. So they don't want to make everybody panic and go into panic, which is already too late for that because everybody's already panicked. We went from 1 to 9 within 2 days. When it was nowhere in sight. It came from Fresno, then Madera, Fresno is an hour from where I'm from. Madera is 45 minutes from where I'm from. So
how many cases? Where you're at, ma'am? Where you're at? How many cases where you're at, and can you give me the population of where you're at? Here, let's compare numbers here. Okay, you say that you had 1 to 9. How many cases where you're at compared to the numbers of population, and compare it to how many the flu kills?
It's going to be, I'm going to give you 5 out of 10 people have it.
Okay.
And the population
and they're not reporting this, though. Okay.
They're not reporting. They say once how you have to read between the lines within the newspaper. You say when we get more cases, we're no longer reporting it because we don't want the public to go into panic. So they didn't report anymore. But
that's
with
interesting.
all it being, I will send you. If you give me your personal.
Let me ask this. Okay, so right now the current situation out there in Fresno, okay, with the COVID-19 and stuff, okay, are you seeing a lot of these mass lockdowns or any National Guard activity when it comes to quarantine?
Well, so far in Fresno, what they do, their curfew is set in, and everything closes early, and nobody's going in. There's no hand-to-hand contact as far as coming in a business establishment and say, like you go to McDonald's and you say, oh, you go inside. They're doing strictly drive-through. The elderly home that I was going to work at, they instantly, every nurse that comes in there, nurse, CNA, however, they all have to get treated. They all, when you leave and come back, you have to get your temperature checked. You got to take all these vital signs and so on and so forth, because it's becoming a problem. Fresno, 6 people have died so far. No, 6 people were infected, 1 have died, which was an elderly person. He was 60 years old. He just recently died last week, I want to say. They just reported it, if I'm saying correctly. I know he's now deceased. So, in Merced, it came from 1, which was last week that was reported, because it was clear we didn't have any. So, last week it was reported 1, and it was a correctional officer. They said he traveled outside of Merced. Okay, bam. So, then here we come back this week. Now we have 9 more cases, and now the Sun starts saying, oh, we're not going to report any more, and after this it's over with. But all the nail salons, all the hair shops, or your regular day stores, they're opening at 9, they're closing at 12. They're taking all this tissue and all the hand sanitizer. So what they're doing is they're letting the elderly people come in at 6 to 7 to get whatever they need. 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. to get everything they need, and then the general public. And then you have to be up at a certain time because they're closing everything by noon. If not noon, 5 o'clock.
Let me ask you this, okay? So, with that being said, all right, do you think that, okay, this is so far out of control that we're not going to be able to slow the spread as some people think that this is going to do? Or do you think that, okay, the people that are actually dying from this, okay, it's just an aggressive form of the flu and they're hyping this epidemic up?
To answer your first question, I do not think that this is too much for us to contain, because all it takes is common, and I hate to say it, but it is common sense. When you come from somewhere, you wash your hands. I have hand sanitizers all on my keys. You know, I work at the hospital, so I wash my hands multiple times a day. My hands look like literally concrete. They're ashy all the time. I walk into a room, I'm washing my hands. Before I go into the room or leave the room, I'm washing my hands. I'm hand sanitizing. So it just takes, you know, you have to own your own cleanliness. You have to clean.
Yeah, I agree with you, ma'am. I agree with you. You're absolutely correct. I agree with you. But
now to answer your second question,
people. Yeah, but hang on. But I want to make this comment, and you have to think about this first, because there's so many people on the line, they're going to interject. But this is very important. You said you had 9 deaths. 9 deaths in Fresno of this virus so far?
No, so far it's 1, but 9 are infected along with this was in 1 week. So 9 has been infected this week, but it was 1 death. And it might be, you know, because but and they might be hyping up the flu because, you know, when it's in your throat, it's okay, but when it makes it to your lungs, that's when it becomes the problem.
But the problem I have with that is that, but the problem I have with that is that in 2017 in Fresno County, California, you had 153 deaths just from the flu, the regular flu. And they're not locking down cities and telling them they need to have mandatory vaccinations.
Correct. I don't know about I don't believe in the mandatory vaccination. The flu. I know when you work in a hospital each year, if you go to another hospital or so on and so forth, they are making you have a mandatory vaccine for the flu. That's just what it is from going through the procedure. But I don't feel that it's a mandatory vaccination needed. I just feel that it just needs to get contained. I think nature has took its course and it's begun to spread it more.
Objection, quickly, if I may. And this lady has never spoken understand the times in which we live in today. Joe Gibson and Chad.
Yes, she has. She said she's been on here before. She's called in before. Yes, she said she did say she has been on the show before.
I've been on here about 2 or 3 times.
Okay, that's a beautiful thing. But here's the reason why the matriarch, and because she's here, and what she said has plenty of flaws. And the flaw is that because of the cold, a cough, the flu, or the so-called virus, that has nothing to do with state-sponsored terrorism, where the whole world is under lockdown because of a social, mental attitude that's being perpetuated based on what some people say is this so-called virus. Now, here's where she and everyone that has opposed me under the matriarch is under control. There has never been no syphilis. There's never been no smallpox, no bird flu, swine flu, sickle cell anemia, HIV, and AIDS that has halted our growth and development. That's a
I never said
boogie
that.
dance.
I never
there.
said that.
Not you,
I never
not
said
you,
that.
but because we're trying to make it legal for us to interact and come together based on a condition that the FCC, radio, TV.
All right, Mandela-Con.
Okay,
Mandela-Con,
okay.
to your point. Yeah, we got a bunch of callers on the line, Mandela-Con. And,
Okay.
And so,
Okay.
and, you know, we're talking about the flu virus and what's going on globally and what we need to do about it. And is this right that we're being
You're
placed
right,
under
Joe,
house arrest?
but it don't have nothing to do with state-sponsored terrorism that is here to slaughter
Can the
all
female
of
answer?
our...
Can the female answer, please? That would be nice. 209, go ahead, because we got a bunch of other people that may want to interject with you, or politely, of course, because if we have anyone with foul mouth, we're going to hang up on you right away.
Yep.
Go ahead, 209.
Most definitely, I think it's a big hype as far as making it more than what not more than what it is, because it is what it is. It's really making people sick. It is a higher strand of the flu. It's worse. I say it's worse than the flu because when you get the flu, you can kind of control the symptoms unless it becomes, pneumonia and so on and so forth. But this is taking its course. It's rapid. It's quick. I've seen somebody, from the flu. Maybe this day they come in the hospital. Okay, they have fluids and a couple of, bacterial things to get clear or however, and then, they're doing back good, even in elderly patients. But now this is really knocking children and elderly people out the park. It's become in mid-20s or however you want to put it. I just feel that just a little bit more cleanliness needs to go around. As far as the lockdown and all that, I kind of understand that because it's more like, can we get it under control before it spreads more?
Well, I agree, 209, with that, and we can have a discussion on that. That's an interesting discussion. I agree with the government saying this is what you should do, wash your hands and do this, and you should probably close your business. They can only suggest. But to tell people that you have to be locked down or you need to close down your business violates your liberties and your constitutional rights.
Absolutely.
I mean, after all, why are we not questioning where did this all start to begin with? Why is this happening? Shouldn't we be examining that instead of examining how we're going to lock people down,
I definitely agree with you on that, and that's the same thing we feel about syphilis and AIDS. Where did it come from? We still don't know. Let them say it came from here, or a monkey in a tree, or this and that. The Tuskegee, they infected all those people, but it was really, they said they were giving them vaccination. This is how I feel about this mandatory vaccination. They say you need a mandatory vaccination. They gave the Tuskegee Airmen, not the airmen, but the, when they did the whole research thing, and they were like, we're trying to give you a vaccination so you won't catch syphilis. The whole time they were injecting the virus into these people. To this day, I had an uncle who died at he was 78, but he died from syphilis. Because, you have it for such a point in time, there's no getting rid of it. So for you to tell us, it's a whole, to me, in my opinion, it's a whole other agenda to this, So it's like.
Well, that's what we want to get into. That's right. That's what we want to get into. Is there another agenda being perplexed by the government, the deep state? And everyone out there, press the number one. Press 1 if you want to get on here. But go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm just trying to tell everyone else, press number 1 and I'll get to you.
I didn't mean to cut you off either. But every time, and this is my personal opinion, every time you deal with the government, it's always an agenda. It's always something other than what they're putting out there. So whole propaganda is a big part of it. We tell you this. It's like when you see, and this is totally off the subject, but it's like when the newscaster gets to the crime scene before they have any details, and they give you straight answers from what they know. And then as the time go by and they keep reporting the story, it turns into this and that and this. It came on at 5 this morning. They had no detail. They just knew what they knew, so they told you what they knew. So now it's 6 o'clock. The 6:30 news come on. Now they come up with all these extra, storylines surrounding what really happened, but at 5 o'clock in the morning they gave you straight answers because that's exactly what they knew when they arrived on the scene.
Well, that's the problem. Don't trust the government. I mean, but you see, we don't have a responsible populace out there, or people that can live up to these standards, and the people and the government. But I want you to stay on the line if you can, for as long as you can. Let's go to 760. Remember, press 1 and I'll connect you live, unscreened, uncensored. Go ahead, 760. Go ahead, 760. Yes, go ahead.
Can you hear me, Joseph?
Yes,
no.
I can hear you just fine. Go ahead.
All right, this is
all right,
Paco.
maybe not. Okay, maybe not. Okay, call back in then. All right, 386. She's been waiting there for a while. We got 209 on. Obviously, she's giving us a live report from Fresno, California, and she said it's an aggressive virus, and it spreads rapidly. And I don't know if I got her opinion on whether or not there should be some sort of mandatory testing. Maybe mandatory testing. Maybe that's a good idea. I don't know. Because, again, how do you can trust the government? Maybe they'll infect you with the damn thing. Who can trust the government? I mean, so what do we do? We're in that catchphrase dilemma here. How can we trust the powers to be that are governing us when they're selling stock off by the hundreds of millions of dollars right before the stock market crashes? And you're going to trust these senators and these congressmen? Most of them should be imprisoned or brought up on charges. I mean, how do you trust your government? And then now we're talking about a sickness. What do we do? How do we combat it? 614, go ahead. You're next. Go ahead. And you got 209 here from Fresno, California. That gave us a live update about the flu virus. She said it's spreading rapidly out there in California, and they're not reporting the facts.
So, presuming that this is actually a true virus and this COVID-19 is some immense mutation that is ultra deadlier than any other version before, and that the government is supposedly on the up on reporting how contagious and how deadly this virus is, it is still not within their capacity or their duty to force people to basically be confined or imprisoned in their own homes, to shut down their livelihoods, to shut down their businesses. To me, the best thing that the government should be doing is, instead of pointing guns in people's faces and making them shut down their livelihoods and ruining careers, ruining businesses, would be to try to come out with the best recommendations for people to follow. Now, it is not up to the government to force people to follow any of these recommendations. And sure enough, I guess, as this thing advances, people would realize and understand and start taking precautions on their own, of their own volition, to protect themselves from this thing. But it is not a job of government at any point to protect us by forcing us into captivity without any kind of due process. And that is the biggest problem with the way the government is currently being handling the situation. You've got governors creating laws where people who are out about trying to conduct their lives are now being threatened with jail time and fines for the normal everyday activities. And that is not constitutional by any stretch of the imagination. That is a total surrendering of rights. And when you add I had a cousin of mine who said, yes, we are violating rights, but you have people out there who eat Tide Pods and aren't smart enough to do what's necessary in order to keep themselves safe and keep other people safe. But it is not, when you add the word but to you have rights, but you no longer understand what a right is. You are now converting a right into a privilege issued by the government, and that's not what a right is.
Right.
Rights
yeah, that's correct.
Absolutely.
So So hang on a second, 614. We got 209 on here. She was in the field there, witnessing all this that's happening. They're misrepresenting the numbers of who's being affected and who's sick and whatnot. She just gave that statement here. What do? We don't have a moral, just society out there that can be responsible or act responsibly, obviously. We can all agree on that. We have a sick, dumbed down, morally bankrupted society. We don't have a 1776 society anymore. We don't have, the church-going people and the family-orientated people anymore. So shouldn't the government's role be a little bit larger in protecting the people out there? Like I think she even said, maybe they should be telling us and advising us what to do, but maybe even going one step further, because you know what? I want to know whether or not this virus is going to infect my children if my next door neighbor has it. And if my next door neighbor has it, I don't want him throwing a soccer ball across the fence to my next door neighbor. From my next door neighbor to my children. So that, I don't want him infecting my children. And there's a lot of sick people out there that will do it purposely. So where does the government's role really play here? What do we do?
So first of all, you've got a flaw in the current system. We talk about the restoration of the republic. The current system, the way it is, we've got a educational system that has created the population out there that's eating Tide Pods. Okay, we've submitted our children to that, and they can't take care of themselves. They by the time they're 18, they have no concept of how it is to actually take care of themselves and do what's necessary. The responsibility of government is not ever to teach our children how to live and survive and actually have some common sense. That is supposed to be the parents, it's supposed to be the communities, but we've left it up to the corporations and the government to do those things for us. So left it up to the TV and left it up to whatever. And those things, I guess, there's a lot of evolutionists out there now. It would be a basic natural selection at this point, but it is not up to those of us that are aware. We shouldn't be subjected to the deprivation of our rights because some people don't have the common sense to do what is necessary. That doesn't mean you get to withdraw the rights of everyone.
All right, but hang on a second, 614. Hang on, let me cut you off there. I want 209 to interject on that. So, what do we do then? You brought up a very interesting problem. Our children are being dumbed down from the beginning. So how do we progress here in a society when our children are being taught by the government to be dumb? The government's telling us we don't have any rights. Our gun rights are being taken away. We don't have a right to defend ourselves in some states. So we're kind of like in a freaking, and then they're infecting us with a virus, most likely. So what the hell do we do?
What do we do?
Go ahead, 209.
we take it back to the beginning of time. Like he said, the constitutional rights. They say they're going to take our guns, but from then on, in the constitutional rights, it says we have every right to bear arms, and he is correct. There is parents out there. I'm 33. I'm 33. I learned at a very young age. You could say it was good, you could say it was bad. But I learned at a very young age how to fend for myself. And as you get older, you know what's right and you know what's wrong. So the things that I know that the social media platform is really big. So what I do is I put things that I personally learned in the healthcare field on my social media page, along with jokes, to keep a laugh a day. It does keep the doctor away. But at the same time, it's up to us as a community, as people, to educate each other. You can't point the finger and say, well, your mother should have taught you that, because there's a lot of things that your mother probably should have taught you that she didn't, that you learned elsewhere. It's, back in the day, they taught you what they were taught, which was what they gave you. It's up to you to acquire more knowledge. Like, I wanted to be a nurse. I'm not done with my BSN. But my mother never sat down and showed me the anatomy of the body. I did that on my own because that's what I wanted to do. At a point in time, it's choices. You got to know, this is what I want to do. So I knew I wanted to be a nurse. So even when I wasn't in school and just strictly working because I had to work and couldn't just go straight through school, I kept a medical book on me, whether it was on anatomy of the body, cells, the brain, and however. And so I understand when he's saying that, some parents should have did this and did that. Well, it's kind of too late to say that because a lot of parents taught people how to hate and some taught them how to love. Then they came along as they went through life and some held on to the hate. Some opened their hearts to love. Some who started off loving began to hate. So it's all a process. It's all about where do you want to be in life. And as people, we should come together. If you knew something that I didn't know, I would love for you to enlighten me. That way I know to spread it. That way I'm not the only one who's aware of it. They say everybody's wearing gloves. They're like, you got to wear gloves. You got to wear gloves. Well, I understand that, but even when you have on gloves, in the hospital, I clean my hands with hand sanitizer because gloves hold germs. So while people walking around with plastic gloves, touching this, touching that, really the germs are stuck in the plastic of the gloves, and you're still touching everything, and it's still spreading because you can't walk down a hallway in a hospital with gloves on. There's no way you could do that. They will terminate you. That is infectious control policy. There's no way that you can go from one room with a pair of gloves on to the next room with a pair of gloves on. Once you leave that room, if you are in a droplet room, which is like, as soon as you walk in, the germ or the whatever bacteria, it instantly hits whatever your PPE equipment. It instantly hits. You have to take all that off before you come out of that room. Wash your hands. People don't really know how to properly wash their hands at times. They think that, I'll put soap on and I'll wash.
Well, personal habits are not taught by some individuals. Exactly. I want to let you know we do have a bunch of other callers though. I want to let you know that. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Go ahead. I'll let you finish your point. They may have a question for you. That's why I want to jump in. I want to make sure they get time if they want to make a comment.
I'm just saying that it's just as how we fix this problem is we come together as one and we help each other.
So
period. And to me with this mandatory stay in the house mandate, I just think it's a practice of martial law, and that's just my opinion. Again, my opinion. I think it's a practice of martial law.
Yeah.
I really do think that. I think this whole big, they're hype. You're going to get sick. You're going to die. Do this, do that. If you don't do it, when Hurricane Katrina happened and I went to clean up my grandfather's house, they had tanks on every street.
We got some other callers that might want to question as well.
They want to ask you a question. I think that's why you're saying that. I think they want to ask you a question. Let's hope we can get the right ones on here. Let's hope. Hopefully, remember she's from Fresno, California. So. 717, go ahead. I don't know if you do or not, but we try to screen everyone as much as possible because we do get a lot of idiots on here. 717, I
try not to be an idiot. I try not to be an idiot. Sometimes it's hard. But I definitely do have a question for her because apparently today I had gotten a deal from a veteran that had posted a physician that works for a clinic that apparently may have been dealing with patients that either might possibly have COVID-19 or do have COVID-19, and apparently she had gotten her children taken away for the fact that she is a nurse and apparently had to have dealt with this or whatever, but apparently since she's a parent, they took her children away. Is that like a normal practice?
Because she's a nurse, they took her children away.
I don't know how that works. I think it's a little bit deeper than that because it's a whole doctor.
Yeah, well, apparently she might have dealt with a DHS or CPS at one point. I'm not necessarily sure, but the reason that she had her children taken away was because she was either dealing with people that might have possibly had COVID-19, and I understand the regulations and stuff, but DHS came in and took her children.
Oh, now that I'm not too sure about because I know a doctor at UCSF. He has done 19-hour shifts, sometimes 24, and when he does go home, he set up a whole tent in his garage. So. And he deals with COVID-19 patients all day. They're getting new cases. Mount Zion added 63 new beds. So to say that because
but
she may
he
have
handled it responsibly. Yeah, but he handled it responsibly. Is it possible maybe someone made a tip saying this nurse wasn't going home and maybe infecting her children?
And maybe she wasn't following code. You know, she probably spoke too much at the hospital, and somebody said, well, hey, I don't like the way this sounds. And, you know, they probably know her personally. If they got taken away, they probably know her personally and made that call on, like, you know, she's not taking proper procedures.
But
She's a nurse.
Right,
she knows better.
Right.
It's not.
Okay.
It's not. But she probably, if she already had DHS and CPS in her life already, that's probably just the whipped cream, you know, on the icing on the cake. Like, we need to just remove your kids.
Yeah, well, you know, I definitely understand the precautions that you guys talk about. So, you know, that is definitely a concern, if you ask me. It may have happened to one person that I know of, but I just want to make sure that it's, you know, it angered me to know that a lot of you guys are dealing with patients like this, and it's one of those, it angers me because you shouldn't have your children taken away because of what you deal with. You know what I mean?
Okay, we have other callers that need to get on with limited time.
Yes.
So
go ahead.
We have 760 on here. 760, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm calling from San Diego. Heard about what's going down here in regards to our lockdown.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, what do you got?
Over here, basically, nobody could be out after 10 o'clock. If you're out and driving around after 10 o'clock, you will be stopped. And if you don't have a permit, I think it's a $1,000 fine the first time, $2,500 fine the second time, and a 1 year in jail the third time. My wife works for a big janitorial business down here in San Diego, and she's been out cleaning a lot of these buildings and banks that are now being affected with personnel that have come down, contracted coronavirus. And her company has been going in to disinfect these places that have been contaminated. So she's been in the front line. I also have family members that are in the medical field. And for instance, they're telling me that this virus has 6 different strains. It's not just one. And one of the things that is really affecting everybody is people that have the low immune system. If your immune system is compromised in some way, it's going to affect you, whether you're young, old, or whatever. But this is one of the things that's taking place down here. Nobody could go to the beach. We can't go to the parks. Any other the county and state parks have been closed. Also, to go in and out of the border now, you will be tested. But if you're not an essential worker, you can't come in and out. There's also
what's an essential worker? What's an essential worker?
Yeah,
what's an essential worker?
Medical field or cleaning or security. Other than that,
okay. 760.
Other than that, you're not.
760.
Other than that, you're not working. You're not out. Yeah.
I have a question. Okay, with regards to the response to the COVID-19 situation in your area, and given your area that you've got a high population of undocumented, but also a high population of homeless people as well. Okay.
Yeah, that's another thing that because I'm a minister, and like for instance, last night we are allowed to go to the store, like to purchase whatever we need, like the basic things. And so last night we went to the store, picked up some things that just basic things. I'm not hoarding. I just need to just to keep our shelves filled. So in the process, I always pick up a little extra.
Yeah, but sir, but 760, the question the real question though, but the real question is, do you know anybody who's been given this citation, or do you know anyone who's been hauled off to jail for traveling around your city?
My wife has been stopped. My wife has been stopped 3 times last week by sheriffs.
Oh, really?
By sheriffs and police officers, and asked them to provide the permit, to provide the permit, or else she was going to be arrested.
Now, and where do you get this permit at? Where do you get this permit at? I mean, how do you get a permit? What do you mean by permit? Because I want to call San Diego on my next show, actually, and find out about this. So, how I get a permit and what do I got to do? How can I be an essential worker? What if I got one arm, like the guy in Schindler's List? Remember, how he was in that movie, shoveling the snow? He said, "I'm an essential worker," and then they shoot him in the head. I want to know if they're going to do that to me. Go ahead, 760. I want to find out where they get this permit.
Get a permit. Not a permit.
Okay, she's right here. She'll clarify that a little bit more.
Okay.
Sorry, it's not a permit. They just give you a document that your company has to provide you, and then it gives the section of where you fall under essential people, so that if whoever pulls you over has the information, they can clearly see it. So I just have like this little like a piece of paper on my dashboard that gives the company name and where we fall under what code for essential people. Essential workers.
Oh, okay. So therefore, whoever's got the background noise, please be careful. So therefore, you have to work for a company that hands out that permit which declares you an essential person.
Right. If you get pulled over
a document.
or whatever, you have to show the proof because we're out late. But it's
wow.
No sticker, no decal, no nothing. They just have to provide you a piece of paper. And
but why are you being pulled over though? If you have that document, why are they pulling you over already 3 times?
When do janitors work?
Well, at night.
Mostly at night, right?
Yeah, well, in America, ma'am, guess what, ma'am? In America, it's not against the law to travel at night. You know what? You have a constitutional right to travel to and from anywhere you want.
Excuse me, but you're going off on a tangent that we're not talking about. So let's stick to the subject, sir. You asked me a question.
Yeah, let's stick to the subject. I'm just saying, I'm sticking up for you.
Okay, I don't need you to stick up for me. I really don't. I'm an American citizen. I was born in this country. And
I would have took that permit, ripped it up, and threw it at them.
I'm out there late at night, and so if I'm out there at midnight and there's nobody on the road, well, of course they're going to ask me, "What are you doing out here?"
Why? Why would they ask you? Because it's late at night. Why? That's probable cause.
In California, if you don't know, in California there are particulars that are telling us to stay home. So in reality, people don't have any business being in the street at midnight unless you're working.
Whoa, who says? Whoa, what do you mean they don't have any business? What do you mean? I don't want. Now listen, hang on. Let's have an interesting dialogue here. What do you mean they don't have any business? So if I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and I just say, hey, it's a beautiful night, I want to go out for a drive. You're telling me I don't have the business or right to travel down my streets and roads in my country? I don't have any business to do that?
I didn't say that, did I? Don't put words in my mouth, sir.
Actually, you kind of did.
There's the COVID-19 going all over the country, and they're asking people to stay home.
I don't know what happened at the bank. Okay, all right. They're asking people to stay home.
I'm in the business of doing decontamination, so my job hours are late at night when people aren't seeing us to not scare the public. We don't want to do that.
Okay.
We don't want to frighten somebody that some public location got contaminated. It's on the news today where we lived, a grocery store, one of their baggers or clerk or cashier or whatever was infected. So what do you think that's going to do to the business? It's all over the news right now, so people aren't going to shop there.
So they how did they find out he was infected? If you don't mind me asking, I'm not from there, so I'm not seeing the news reports. I'm just asking.
It has to be reported.
Oh, okay.
So when you get sick, somebody tests you, and then those numbers go to who? All the way up to the president. Some governing
so if I'm working,
finds out, and that's how it gets on the news.
Oh, okay. So like I'm working at my local grocery store, and I think somebody is infected, and I say, I go to my store manager, and I say, he's coughing. He looks like he's got the flu. And therefore, you come racing up with your blue lights and red lights, and you slam that, and you get not slam them down to the ground, but that's what's coming. You get that bagger, that guy's bagging groceries, and you surround him and with your masks on and everything, and say, oh, he's infected. And you report it that he's infected, and how do we know he's really infected? You know, I mean, is there a way to test, or is there a way to find out if it's infected?
To be honest, the story you're talking about, I doubt that that's happening. So I don't want to give your public, or who's ever listening to your radio station, a misconception of what's going on in California, because that's not the truth. The truth is somebody came to the store and said an employee was tested, and he tested positive. Whether he's sick, coughing, sneezing, or not, we don't know. The news didn't say that.
Oh, somebody reported him. Somebody reported him. Oh.
Himself or whoever the person is went to his employer to let him know, hey, I tested positive. That's it. You know, whether they're sneezing, coughing, having a fever, we don't know that. That didn't get mentioned in the news.
He came in there himself and said he tested positive. That's what you're saying, right?
I'm assuming that that's what transpired.
Oh, assuming. Yeah.
Let me repeat myself. An employee.
Well, you see, assumption is why we have constitutional rights to protect us from assumptions.
You know what? Either you speak or I speak, sir, but nobody's listening. So if we're both talking over each other, we can't get the message out.
Go ahead, speak.
Okay, then stop interrupting.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Call professionalism, sir. I'm trying to get a story out, and I don't want people to misconceive what's happening. An employee tested positive, reported it to his employer, and it happens to be a local grocery store. It got in the news. What happened, how it happened, where he got tested. If he has symptoms, we have no idea.
Okay, all right. So it just got in the news. What did the news say? Because you said you saw it on the news. So what is the actual story from the news?
It's in our local
what did the news say?
That a grocery employee was tested positive for COVID-19.
Oh, okay. All right. So therefore they did. Now, what happens to that individual when they test positive, or what is
my
the
understanding
test that tests them?
My understand. I don't know where he got tested. I don't even know who's giving the test. All I know is my understanding is if you get exposed to it, even if you're not sick, even if you don't test positive, but you get exposed to someone, let's say your coworker, the grocery store, because they pinpoint a date, it has an incubation period, and then you tell yourself, was I at that grocery store on that day that gentleman was at the store? Well, if you were, then you have to self-quarantine, stay home for 14 days.
Wow. Oh, well, that's quite a ripple effect. Yeah. That's quite a ripple effect in the community, right? I mean,
yeah, you're on.
No, but hang on. She has a question. Let her speak because she asked to speak. I don't want to interrupt her. So, therefore, what do you think we should do? We should all just be self-responsible and say, hey, why doesn't the entire country just stay home for 14 days and self-quarantine, and it'll all be over, right?
Well, that would in a
just shut everything
world,
down.
that would be great, but that's impossible because how would you get groceries? How would you get gasoline? Everything would need to completely shut down, completely. And that means gas, food, everything. But our water system in the United States is controlled by computer systems. The water flows and all of that. It's all digital. We all live off computers today. So if everybody went home, what would happen?
Yeah, true. Well, in the cities you guys do, but not in the country. Not in the country. Hang on, not in the country. Actually, we have our own water. We have wells and whatnot.
I'll give you an example of what happened a few years ago.
I know.
You can look this up, sir. You can look this up. You could Google it. You can internet. I don't care what you do. But about a few years ago, the San Diego County's electricity went off completely around 7:30 p.m. and we were in the dark. No phone. People got stuck at gas stations trying to pump gas because, the gas is digital now. You don't go over there and it dials the wheels, on the numbers. Like back in the day when we were kids, you would see the numbers flipping. It doesn't happen like that. Everything's digital. It's on a computer. So that happened here in San Diego. Literally, all of our lights went off from the San Onofre power plant all the way down to the U.S. Mexico border in San Isidro.
Now, ma'am, let me. All right, ma'am. You obviously appear to be very educated and very knowledgeable, and I understand you wanted to make sure you were reporting on facts, and I respect that. However, let's look at common sense here. You're telling me after all these years, everything that's going on in the world, Why are we not, with all this technology that we have, all the know-how, we know what everybody's doing, and don't you think there's information out there where how and when this actual virus just didn't pop up out of thin air and fall down from the clouds of heavens and infect one person in China and all of a sudden infect the entire world, so therefore an entire agenda may be happening here? That's what we're trying to figure out on the show. Can you get that?
That's a good question, because I'd like to know. My understanding is I've been looking and searching through the internet, and COVID-19 has a patent.
Oh yeah, guess what, ma'am? I posted that on my Facebook page 3 months ago.
Why do we patent a disease, though? I'm trying to. I'm not. Maybe I'm not in that realm of the world. But why would we need to do that? Are all the disease patented? The measles, the mumps?
Amen.
Yeah,
amen.
Hepatitis?
Yeah.
Is all of that?
Well, if you look back, the U.S. Army is one of the largest creators of a lot of biological agents. The U.S. military, they're constantly studying ways to amplify and utilize these biological and chemical agents in warfare. So who's to say that these commercial companies aren't working hand in hand with the U.S. government in creating, strains of flu and, things like that can be weaponized. So I agree with you there. And, I also agree that this didn't just pop up out of thin air overnight.
Oh, of course not. Why does it say COVID-19? Obviously, it started in 2019. It didn't have to happen, 2020. How it, it's easy to transport anything.
That's a good point.
Let me give you an idea.
That's a good point.
Go ahead.
Let
me give you an idea. I saw this commercial the other day on the internet, and it was a lady washing her hands with blue ink, trying to teach people that when you wash your hands, you actually don't cover all of the skin in your hands. So she used the color blue to show everybody. Now let's put blue on our hands and walk and go a normal day, all day long for 8 hours, what you do, and touch something, and I bet you'll leave your fingerprint everywhere you walked. From the door to the rail to the shopping cart to the can you picked up to the shelving to the gas station to the Walmart to CVS, to your computer, to your desk, to the bathroom at the office, to where you go get water, turning on the faucet. So you can easily transport anything. Put blue in your hands. I challenge anybody to do it themselves. I saw it and I can see it. I'm not in agreement with is that I don't think that this was just a virus that flew out of the thin air. I believed it was planted all over the world on purpose.
Amen. Yeah. And you're obviously very intelligent.
Now,
and you know what?
Now that's
I apologize
a good question,
for giving you a hard time. But I apologize for giving you a hard time in the beginning. I was just trying to have a dialogue and conversation with you. That's all.
And I totally get it. I'm just saying. I just want to make sure I spit out facts. I don't want anybody to say some crazy lady in California said all this crazy stuff. People, we have a saying in Spanish.
I know.
We have a saying in Spanish. We say, le echan más chile a los tacos. That means you put more salsa on top of the tacos so that it tastes better. Just like the story, you put a little bit more salsa on top to make it sound better.
So,
amen. I like her. I like her.
So, while I got you on the line, I do have a question. Okay, so I brought up a question. Okay, what's being done to protect? Okay, the undocumented community and the homeless community out on the West Coast.
Good question. Not a damn thing. If you're looking to get lettuce on there, you get lettuce on your table and you drink a glass of wine. There was some immigrant pulled that grape. Somebody pulled that radish, that carrot, that potato. Not Americans don't want to do that job. They don't want to be bent over. They don't want to be picking strawberries.
True.
But you want to buy it. You want to buy it.
I'm sure they're not getting.
This doesn't happen by some little elf.
I agree.
They're not getting, essential worker permits.
There are workers right now who can't go to the field. They're not going. They're not. Look it up. They can't. They've got people that they work for who are concerned that, what are they doing? Are they, if you could see some of the stuff that's out there, they have to use what we used to call back in the day an Andy Gump. They go to little porta potties. They give them a little something to wash their hands with. And these are billionaires or millionaires making tons of money off the fruit, vegetables, potatoes, wheat, barley, whatever you want to call it, that someone natural hands have to pick it.
Yeah. And just so you know, you can't patent.
You can't use a machine to knock off all the oranges on the tree. You can shake a walnut.
Well, you can't
tree.
patent. You can't patent anything. You cannot patent anything that's natural, and you cannot patent a disease unless it's a disease only if it's in its modified form.
Exactly.
So they're very interesting.
For whatever, I believe it was the Spanish flu from back in 1918, and I think they took part of that and then just embellished it with a little other garbage. And then let's just see what happens. I mean, think about it. People have greed in their pockets. They don't care. All they care about is money. And it only comes in one color in this country, and it's green. Whether you sell a taco on the street corner or you pick grapes or you're a digital expert in front of a computer, everybody gets the same color of money, green.
Fact.
Only some people get a little bit more commas than others.
Yeah, you're right. For the love of money, for the root of all evil, you're absolutely correct. Okay, well, I got to do the closing thoughts. Chad, hang on. Hang on. I got to do the closing thoughts to the show. I got to do the closing thoughts. Yeah, everybody, I got to do the closing thoughts to the show because we're going to run out of time. But with you, I want you to close out your thoughts, everything that you heard here tonight in the conversation, and I'll move up down the line. Hopefully everyone will listen to everybody because I got a bunch of people. Just take 2 minutes, everybody, please. Go ahead, ma'am. You first, out there on the West Coast.
Okay, well, first
sure.
of all, I live in Southern California. I've been here all my life. I am a daughter of an immigrant. My father came here when he was about 15 years old. And I take my hat off to my dad because he became a supervisor at General Motors when he got his green card. My dad was legit, owns homes, sent us all to school. He has 9 children. The most of us have a degree. I have a nephew. Just wanted to tout this. He's going to get his PhD this year. And from a man that just crossed the border on a train trying to make a better living for his family, he made a difference. But what I'd like to really close here is that greed is what dominates the country in the United States. It doesn't matter how you want to paint it, what color you are. It's greed. And we can't change that. There's greed in the churches. There's greed down the grocery store. There's greed in the farmlands. There's greed with politicians. It just, people get corrupt and they forget that God is overseeing this entire picture, and repentance is the key of how this behavior is getting worse and worse and worse. I mean, it just, people have no clue that they can harm somebody and keep moving, and it doesn't bother them. It does no pain in their heart. There's no more, they don't discern that. And I truly believe it's because they've removed God from the picture.
Hey, bingo.
And this today, what's happening, just goes to show, like it did back in 2008 when everybody started losing their houses and the market fell, everybody ran to church. And as soon as everything starts flowing good, what do? They walk right back out. Just like the Israelites.
Wow, that's powerful.
Amen to that.
Powerful.
Ma'am.
Ma'am,
oh, God, get
me
out of here.
I want to thank you. I want to thank you so much for that for your thoughts here. That was you're absolutely correct. You are very, very correct, actually. They turn from God. You're absolutely correct. But 717, go ahead. Take 2 minutes. 717. We'll go up the line here. Everyone be respectful.
Yes, I definitely have to say I agree with what she says. They took God out of the picture. And a lot of this could be, just his retaliation to prove to everybody really money isn't a big thing to me. I'm a farm girl, so I'd rather live off the land than in a city.
Yeah, we're here. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. You're absolutely you're a farm girl. Well, farm girls, we know that you don't care about money. You just care about milking the cows, I guess.
Pretty much.
And spreading the hay out there in the field.
I know how to do everything that nature, provides.
Amen. Well, thank you so much. 717, thank you so much for participating in the show. I appreciate all the callers. I really do. 614, go ahead.
Well, as taking God out of schools or taking God out of all aspects of life. That wasn't the government that did that. That was the people that profess to believe, because we have allowed government to replace all aspects of our life. The government is expected now to do the charities. The government is expected to take care of the weak, and the government takes care of our elderly. Government takes care of our children. We've advocated everything to the government. We've submitted by contract to 501c3 that the churches will never speak on politics, will never speak toward our politicians. And we wonder why there's no morality or no God left in government or our institutions. We've surrendered and advocated all aspects of what was Christ and his charity and his love and given it to the government. And lo and behold, government corrupted it just like they do everything else. Government corrupting right now their duty to serve and protect as our servants, and now believing themselves to be our masters and revoking our rights for our own good, so they say, is just another extension of that. And we, the people, need to remember that they are the servants. They are not the masters. Their permission to have authority is not given by God, but by those who are the governed. And when we begin to remember all of these things and start restoration of the proper position of God and of government, and remembering where those places are, we will see a restoration of the republic and rights and individual freedom and liberty. And I'll yield back at that.
All right, thanks, man. I appreciate it. Chad, you want to go ahead and say something? Because I know you wanted to say a lot there. Go ahead, and then we'll get Mandela Con. 209, I know, wants it. I want to give her actually the last of everybody here, because she really did really spawn a lot off here tonight. So go ahead, Chad.
Okay, first off, I want to apologize to anybody about the, random sneezing and coughing here. Getting over bronchitis and stuff the last couple of weeks. So, bear with me while I try to recover in this bullcrap time of, I don't know if I'm dying of COVID-19 or not. So, what we need to remember out there is on the show, okay, we have a 2-minute time slot for everybody, and we'd love to hear from all the callers. We would love to hear. Just keep in mind, please, that when you call in the future, keep it at 2 minutes. Let's not control the conversation. Let's give everybody a chance to talk. Give everybody a chance to have, engaging conversation with each other and to actually have rebuttal questions. So let's just do this. I appreciate everybody that came on tonight. Everybody had a lot of great things to say. I was really impressed with the conversation. Mandela Con, I want to thank you for coming on and speaking your piece. So, that's all I have. I yield back to you, Joe, for 209.
Yeah, actually, Mandela Con's first. Mandela Con's been waiting a long time, so we'll give him the chance here. Go ahead, but you're absolutely correct. Give him some respect to everybody. There's a lot of people out there that we lost tonight that really probably had a lot of interesting things to say. But I know that the lady out there in California, she really took the show off tonight. That was great that guy gave it over. I think that's maybe his wife. I don't know, but she said, "Let me talk." So that was good. That's live radio, so that's good. Go ahead, Mandela Con.
Thank you so much. On behalf of Melly Queen, Black Power, Melly Queen, the general, who is the general over Shabaka. And I know that you and Chad, you heard of Shabaka. But you also know that I represent the matriarch, the red, black, and green, and the bloodless revolution. Here's where all power to the people and no power to the sheeple. This is not about a cold, a flu, or a virus. The state-sponsored terrorist is the Center for Disease Control, and Chad gave you a testimony that the Defense Department has used germ biological chemical warfare, the Tuskegee Airmen and Settlers, the smallpox and the blankets. Chad knows about the Defense Department that uses genetic mutated viruses and germ biological chemical warfare. And here's where Melly Queen, and she loves black power. But on behalf of the matriarch and the red, black, and green, Africa for the Africans at home and abroad, only the pain and the matriarch brings the people's bloodless revolution where we don't have to fire a shot, only because of the sign of the times in which we live in today. Either we go.
You're absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct, Mandela Khan. Only because of the sign of the times in which you live today. You're absolutely correct. Understanding the times in which you live today. Go ahead. Area code 209. Go ahead. You take 3 minutes, 4 minutes. Go ahead, because I know you got a lot to say. Go ahead.
I really don't have a lot to say anymore. I just want everybody to stay prayed up and use proper caution cleaning your hands. If we come together as a people, we'll make it. That's all I can say on this, because we need each other to survive. It's going to eventually be us against them, because they have all the chemical warfare. They have all the, well, at least they're trying to have all the guns and everything else and all the food and tell us when to eat, how to eat it, what you can have, what you can't have. So we just have to, for each other, if you have a farm, which I should be having in at least 2 more years if this clears up, livestock, everything, you just have to just really just take care of life, family itself. Love thy neighbor, that's a big thing, because it takes a whole community to make everything work. Everything is just, it's a strategized plan. And if they think they're ahead of us, we got to stay 10 steps ahead of them. And as far as the CV-19, it has 19 crowns, which the corona comes from, because corona means crown in Latin. And the 19, it could have been patented in 2019, true, but it does have 19 crowns. So that's where the name actually comes from. And with that being said,
thank you so much. Yep, thanks. I thought you were finished. Sorry.
Yeah, no, well, I am. With that, I just say that everybody pray for each other well as their own, and we'll make it, because there's only one person that has the last say-so, and it's not man, and I tell you that.
Well, you're absolutely right. Man's not. Well, that's the problem, really. And to wrap up the show here, like Chad said, we appreciate everyone that does call into the show. We really do. Because, without you, there is no real show or podcast to do. Because that's what I've always said from the very beginning, and all those naysayers out there that don't want to believe, we've had so many people on this show that have made powerful testimonies on this podcast in the years past. And the thing of it is, what I'm trying to do is understand the times in which we live today. And that's why I have so many different cultures, so many different people. It doesn't matter if you're white, doesn't matter if you're black, doesn't matter if you're Hispanic, doesn't matter if you're Puerto Rican, doesn't matter who you are out there. I invite everyone on here, and everyone knows that. Whether or not we disagree and we get heated discussions and arguments, just like the caller there that we had on earlier, she basically told me, shut up. So, which is fine. I don't mind. That's fine. She had a lot to say and a lot to share. That's great. And that's what this show is all about. That's why I pay for this show. That's why I advertise this show. That's why we put it out there, and we got a lot to offer here. So we give it to you, because restoring our republic is what is most important. We're Americans, we're citizens, we're people, and no matter what we may believe in or what background we come from, what is important is that we live another day and try to make another day happier in the future. God bless everybody. Take care.